Okay. Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, Forrest over here, and welcome to another reading live stream. Yeah, let me see if I can find a better thing for this here. It's probably good enough right there. Anyway, welcome to another reading live stream. Don't mind those back there. That's for something regarding tomorrow in my personal life, so don't worry too much about that. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and move these out of there. So you guys don't have to worry about getting distracted by that. Alright. Anyway, as you can tell from the title, I will be reading the final two stories of Night Shift by Stephen King. So that way we can finally move on to Death Behind Every Door, which was a book that you guys voted for some weeks ago, and I'm finally going to be owning up to that. And then after this, and then when I go back to The Hobbit, I will be reading 3 chapters. The one of the 2 chapters I was supposed to finish with the part that I did before that, and then 2 other chapters to go along with that one. So that'd be 3 chapters, and I would have to find good time and moments when I'm not tired as fuck to read it. But yeah, so in any event, I'm going to lower this down some. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right straight into Night Shift, which means I'll be reading the final 2 short stories in this book, One for the Road and The Woman in the Room. I'll go ahead and take my glasses off because it's going to be a pain in the butt trying to, excuse me. Gonna be a pain in the butt trying to read it with my glasses being a bit dirty as they are right now. So, without further ado, let's begin. One for the Road. It was 10:15, and Herb Tooklender was thinking of closing for the night when the man in the fancy overcoat and the white, staring face burst into Tookie's bar, which lies in the northern part of Falmouth. It was the 10th of January, just about the time most folks are learning to live comfortably with all the New Year's resolutions they broke, and there was one hell of a northeaster blowing outside. And 6 inches had come down before dark, and it had been growing hard and heavy since then. Twice we had seen Billy Larrabee go by high in the cab of the town plow, and the second time Tukey ran him out of beer. An act of pure charity, my mother would have called it, and my God knows she put down enough of Tukey's beer in her time. Billy told him they were keeping ahead of it on the main road, but the side ones were closed and apt to stay that way until next morning. The radio in Portland was forecasting another foot and a 45-mile-an-hour wind to pile up the drifts. It was just Tukey and me in the bar, listening to the wind howl around the eaves and watching it dance the fire around on the hearth. "Have one for the road, Booth," Tukey says. "I'm going to shut her down." He poured me one and himself one, and that's when the door cracked open and the stranger staggered in, snow up to his shoulders and in his hair, like he had rolled around in confectioner's sugar. The wind billowed a sand-fine sheet of snow in after him. "Close the door!" Tukey roars at him. "Was you born in the barn?" I never heard a man who looked that scared. He was like a horse that spent an afternoon eating fire nettles. His eyes rolled toward Tukey, and he said, "My wife, my daughter," and he collapsed on the floor in a dead faint. "Holy Joe," Tukey says. "Close the door. Booth, close the door, Booth, would you?" I went and shut it. and pushing it against the wind was something of a chore. Tukey was down on one knee, holding the fellow's head up and patting his cheeks. I got over to him and saw right off that it was nasty. His face was fiery red, but there were gray blotches here and there. And when you've lived through winters in Maine since the time Woodrow Wilson was president, as I have, you know those gray blotches mean frostbite. Fainted, Tukey said. Let the brandy out the back bar, will you? I got it and came back. Tukey had opened the fellow's coat. He had come around a little. His eyes were half open and he was muttering something too low to catch. Pour a capful, Tukey says. Just a cap? I asks him. That stuff's dynamite, Tukey says. No sense overloading his carb. I poured out a capful and looked at Tukey. He nodded. Straight down the hatch. I poured it down. It was a remarkable thing to watch. The man trembled all over and began to cough. His face got redder. His eyelids, which had been at half mast, flew up like window shades. I was a bit alarmed, but Tukey only sat him up like a big baby and clapped him on the back. The man started to retch, and Tukey clapped him again. Hold on to it, he says. That brandy comes dear. The man coughed some more, but it was diminishing now. I got my first look at him. City fella, all right, and from somewhere south of Boston, at a guess. He was wearing kid gloves, expensive but thin. There were probably some more of those grayish white patches on his hands, and he would be lucky not to lose a finger or two. His coat was fancy, all right. A $300 job if ever I'd seen one. He was wearing tiny little boots that hardly came up over his ankles, and I began to wonder about his toes. Better, he said. All right, Tukey said. Will you come over to the fire? My wife and my daughter, he said. They're out there, in the storm. From the way you came in, I didn't figure they were at home watching the TV, Tukey said. You can tell us by the fire as easy as here on the floor. Hook on, Booth. He got to his feet, but a little groan came out of him, and his mouth twisted down in pain. I wondered about his toes again, and I wondered why God felt he had to make fools from New York City who would try driving around in southern Maine at the height of a northeast blizzard. And I wondered if his wife and his little girl were dressed any warmer than him. We hiked him across the fireplace and got him sat down in that rocker that used to be Mrs. Tukey's favorite until she passed on in '74. It was Mrs. Tukey that was responsible for most of the place, which had been written up in Down East and the Sunday Telegram, and even once in the Sunday supplement of the Boston Globe. It's really more of a public house than a bar, with its big wooden floor pegged together rather than nailed, the maple bar, the old barn raftered ceiling, and the monstrous big fieldstone hearth. Mrs. Tukey started to get some ideas in her head after the Down East article came out. Wanted to start calling the place Tukey's Inn or Tukey's Rest, and I admit it has sort of a colonial ring to it, but I prefer plain old Tukey's Bar. It's one thing to get uppish in the summer when the state's full of tourists. Another thing altogether in the winter when you and your neighbors have to trade together. And there had been plenty of winter nights like this one that Tukey and I had spent all alone together, drinking scotch and water or just a few beers. My own Victoria passed on in '73, and Tukey's was a place to go where there were enough voices to mute the steady ticking of the death watch beetle. Even if there was just Tukey and me, it was enough. I wouldn't have felt the same about it if the place had been Tukey's Rest. It's crazy, but it's true. We got this fellow in from the fire, and he got the shakes harder than ever. He hugged onto his knees, and his teeth clattered together, and a few drops of clear mucus spilled off the end of his nose. I think he was starting to realize that another 15 minutes out there might have been enough to kill him. It's not the snow, it's the wind chill factor. It steals your heat. When did you get off the road? Tukey asked him. 6 miles south of here, he said. Tukey and I stared at each other, and all of a sudden I felt cold. Cold all over. You sure? Tukey demanded. You came 6 miles through the snow? He nodded. I checked the odometer when we came through town. I was following directions. Going to see my wife's sister in Cumberland. Never been there before. We're from Jersey, New Jersey. New Jersey. If there's anyone more purely foolish than a New Yorker, it's a fellow from New Jersey. 6 miles, you're sure? Tukey demanded. Pretty sure, yeah. I found the turnoff, but it was drifted and it was. Tukey grabbed him. Hold on. Tukey grabbed him. In the shifting glow of the fire, his face turned pale and strained, older than his 66 years by 10. You made a right turn? Right turn, yeah. My wife, did you see a sign? Sign? Of course I did. It was on my instructions. Take Jointer Avenue through Jerusalem's lot to the 295 interest ramp. He looked from Tukey to me and back to Tukey again. Outside the wind whistled and howled and moaned through the eaves. Wasn't that last night, mister? The lot. Lot. Tukey said, almost too soft to hear. Oh my God. What's wrong? The man said. His voice was rising. Wasn't that right? I mean, the road looked drifted in, but I thought, if there's a town there, the plows will be out and then He just sort of tailed off. Booth. Tukey said to me low. Get on the phone. Call the sheriff. Sure. Sure. This fool from New Jersey says. That's right. What's wrong with you guys anyway? You look like you saw a ghost. Tukey said, no ghosts in the lot, mister. Did you tell them to stay in the car? Sure I did, he said, sounding injured. I'm not crazy. Well, you couldn't have proved it by me. What's your name? I asked him. For the sheriff. Lumley, he said. He says. Gerard Lumley. He started in with Tukey again, and I went across to the telephone. I picked it up and heard nothing but dead silence. I hit the cutoff button a couple times. Still nothing. I came back. Tukey had poured Gerard Lumley another tot of brandy, and this one was going down him a lot smoother. Was he out? Tukey asked. Phone's dead. Hot damn, Tukey says, and we look at each other. Outside the wind gusted up, throwing snow against the windows. Lumley looked from Tukey to me and back again. Well, haven't either of you got a car? He asked. The anxiety was back in his voice. They've got to run the engine and run the heater. I only have had about a quarter of a tank of gas, and it took me an hour and a half to... Look, will you answer me? He stood up and grabbed Tukey's shirt. Mister? Mister? Tukey says. I think your hand just ran away from your brains there. Lumley looked at his hands and Tukey and then dropped it. Man. Hey, Daniel Barry, how you doing tonight? Man, he hissed. He made it sound like a dirty word about somebody's mother. All right. Where's the nearest gas station? They must have a tow truck. The nearest gas station is in Falmouth County Center, I said. That's 3 miles down the road from here. Thanks, he said, a bit sarcastic, and headed for the door, buttoning his coat. Won't be open, though, I added. He turned back slowly and looked at us. What are you talking about, old man? What are you talking about, old man? He's trying to tell you that the station in the center belongs to Billy Larrabee, and Billy's out driving the plow, you damn fool, Tukey says patiently. Now why don't you come back here and sit down before you bust a gut? He came back looking dazed and frightened. Are you telling me that you can't, that there isn't? I ain't telling you nothing, Tukey says. You're doing all the telling, and if you stopped for a minute, we could think this over. What's this town, Jerusalem's Lot? He asked. Why was the road drifted in, and no lights on anywhere? I said, Jerusalem's Lot burned out 2 years back. If they never rebuilt? He looked like he didn't believe it. It appears that way, I said, and looked at Tukey. What are we going to do about this? They leave him out there, he says. I got closer to him. Lumley had wandered away to look out the window into the snowy night. What if they've been got at? I asked. Wait, what if they've been got at? I asked. That may be, he said, but we don't know it for sure. I've got my Bible on the shelf. You still wear your Pope's medal? I pulled the crucifix out of my shirt and showed him. I was born and raised Congregational, but most folks who live around the lot wear something. Crucifix, St. Christopher's medal, rosary, something. Because 2 years ago, in the span of one dark October month, the lot went bad. Sometimes, late at night, when there were just a few regulars drawn up around Tukey's fire, people would talk it over. Talk around it is more like the truth. You see, people in the lot started to disappear. First a few, then a few more, then a whole slew. The schools closed, the town stood empty for most of a year. Oh, a few people moved in, mostly damn fools from out of state like this fine specimen here, drawn by the low property values, I suppose. But they didn't last. A lot of them moved out a month or two after they'd moved in. The others, well, they disappeared. Then the towns burned flat. It was at the end of a long, dry fall. They figure it started up by the Marston house on the hill that overlooked Jointner Avenue, but no one knows how it started, nor not to this day. It burned out of control for 3 days. After that, for a time, things were better. And then they started again. I only heard the word vampires mentioned once. A crazy pulp truck driver named Richie Messina from over Freeport Way was in Tukey's that night, pretty well liquored up. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, the stampeder roars, standing up about 9 feet tall in his wool pants and his plaid shirt and his leather-topped boots. Are y'all so damn afraid to say it out? Vampires! That's what you're all thinking, ain't it? Jesus jumped up Christ in a chariot-driven sidecar, just like a bunch of kids scared of the movies. You know what there is? You know what there is down there in Salem's Lot? Want me to tell you? Want me to tell you? Do tell, Richie, Tuppy says. It had got real quiet in the bar. You could hear the fire popping and outside the soft drift of the November rain coming down in the dark. You got the floor. What you got over there is your basic law dog pack, Richie Messina tells us. That's what you got. That and a lot of old women who love a good spook story. Why, for $480, I'd go up there and spend the night in what's left of that haunted house you're all so worried about. So what about it? Anyone want to put it up? But nobody would. Richard was a loudmouth and a mean drunk, and no one was going to shed any tears at his weight. But none of us were willing to see him go into Salem's Lot after dark. Be screwed the bunch of you, Richie says. I got my 410 in the trunk of my Chevy, and that'll stop anything at Falmouth, Cumberland, or Jerusalem's Lot. And that's where I'm going. He slammed out of the bar, and no one said a word for a while. Then Lamont Henry says, real quiet, "That's the last time anyone's going to see Richie Messina. Holy God." And Lamont, raised to be a Methodist from his mother's knee, crossed himself. He'll be he'll sober up and change his mind, Tukey said, but he sounded uneasy. He'll be back by closing time, making out it was all a joke. But Lamont had the right to that one, because no one ever saw Richie again. His wife told the state cops she thought he'd just making sure my thing was going, sorry. He'd gone to Florida to be the collection agency. But you could see the truth of the thing in their eyes. Sick, scared eyes. Not long after, she moved away to Rhode Island. Maybe she thought Richard was going to come after her some dark night. And I'm not the man to say he might not have done. Now Tukey was looking at me, and I was looking at Tukey as I stuffed my crucifix back into my shirt. I never felt so old or so scared in my life. Tukey said again, "We can't just leave them out there, Booth." "Yeah, I know." We looked at each other for a moment longer, and then he reached out and gripped my shoulder. "You're a good man, Booth." This was enough to buck me up some. It seems like when you pass 70, people start forgetting that you are a man or that you ever were. Tukey walked over to Lumley and said, "I've got a four-wheel drive, Scout. I'll get it out." "For God's sakes, man, why didn't you say so before?" He had whirled around from the window and was staring angrily at Tukey. "Why'd you have to spend 10 minutes beating around the bush?" Tukey said very softly, "Mister, you watch your jaw, and if you get urged to open it, you remember who made that turn onto an unplowed road in the middle of a goddamned blizzard." He started to say something, and then shut his mouth. T- Thick color had risen up in his cheeks. Tukey went out to get his Scout out of the garage. I felt around under the bar for his chrome flask and filled it full of brandy. Figured we might need it before this night was over. Maine blizzard. Ever been out in one? The snow comes flying so thick and fine that it looks like sand and sounds like that, beating on the sides of your car or pickup. You don't want to use your high beams because they reflect off the snow and you can't see 10 feet in front of you. With the low beams on, you can see maybe 15 feet. But I can live with the snow. It's the wind I don't like. And when it picks up and begins to howl, driving the snow into 100 weird flying shapes and sounding like all the hate and pain and fear in the world. There's death in the throat of a snowstorm wind, white death, and maybe something beyond death. That's no sound to hear when you're tacked up all cozy in your own bed with the shutters bolted and the doors locked. It's not much worse if you're driving, and we were driving smack into Salem's lot. "Hurry up a little, can't you?" Lumley asked. I said, "For a man who came in half frozen, you're in one hell of a hurry to end up walking again." He gave me a resentful, baffled look and didn't say anything else. We were moving up the highway and at a steady 25 miles an hour. It was hard to believe that Bill Larrabee had just plowed this stretch an hour ago. Another 2 inches had covered it, and it was drifting in. The strongest gust of wind rocked the Scout on her springs. The headlights showed a swirling white note, nothing up ahead of us. We hadn't met a single car. About 10 minutes later, Lumley gasps, "Hey, what's that?" He was pointing out my side of the car. I'd been looking dead ahead. I turned but was a shade too late. I thought I could see some sort of slumped form fading back from the car, back into the snow, but that could have been imagination. "What was it? A deer?" I asked. "I guess so," he said, sounding shaky. "But its eyes, they look red." He looked at me. "Is that how a deer's eyes look at night?" He sounded almost as if he were pleading. "They can look like anything," I says, thinking that might be true. But I've seen a lot of deer at night from a lot of cars, and never saw any set of eyes reflect back red. Tukey didn't say anything. About 15 minutes later, we came to a place where the snowbank on the right of the road wasn't so high because the plows are supposed to raise their blades a little when they go through an intersection. This looks like where we this looks like where we turned, Lumley said, not sounding too sure about it. I don't see the sign this is it, Tukey answered. He didn't sound like himself at all. You can see the top of the signpost. Oh, sure, Lumley said. Lumley sounded relieved. Listen, Mr. Tooklander, I'm sorry about being so short back there. I was cold and worried and called myself 200 kinds of fool, and I want to thank you both. Don't thank Booth and me until we got them in this car, Tukey said. He put the Scott in four-wheel drive and slammed his way through the snowbank and onto Jointner Avenue, which goes through the lot and out to 295. Snow flew up from the mud guards. The rear ended up trying to brake a little bit, but Tukey's had been driving through snow since Herbert was a pup. He jockeyed it a bit, talked to it, and on we went. The headlines picked out the bare indication of other tire tracks from time to time, the ones made by Lumley's car, and then they would disappear again. Lumley was leaning forward, looking for his car, and all at once Tukey said, Mr. Lumley. What? He looked around at Tukey. People around these parts are kind of superstitious about Salem's Lot, simply says, eyeing it easy enough. But I could see the deep lines of strains around his mouth, and the way his eyes kept moving from side to side. If your people are in the car, why, that's fine. We'll pack them up, go back to my place, and tomorrow, when the storm's over, Billy, we'll be glad to yank your car out of the snowbank. But if they're not in the car, Lumley broke in sharply. Why would they be in the car? If they're not in the car, Tukey goes on, and answering, we're going to turn around and drive back to Falmouth Center and whistle for the sheriff. Makes no sense to go wallowing around at 8 in the snowstorm anyway, does it? That'll be in the car. Where else would that be? I said, one other thing, Mr. Lumley. If we should see anybody, we're not going to talk to them. Not even if they talk to us. You understand that? Very slowly, Lumley says, just one of these new superstations. Before I could say anything, God alone knows what I would have said. Tukey broke in. We're there. We were coming up on the back end of a big Mercedes. The whole hood of the thing was buried in a snowdrift, and another drift had soaked in the entire left side of the car. But the tail lights were on, and we could see exhaust drifting out of the tailpipe. They didn't just ran out of gas anyway, Lumley said. Tukey pulled up and pulled on the Scout's emergency brake. You remember what Booth told you, Lumley? Sure. But he wasn't sure thinking about of anything but his wife and daughter. I don't see how anybody could uh, blame him either. Ready, Booth? Tukey asked me. His eyes held on the nice and grim and gray in the dashboard lights. I guess I am, I said. Wait, I guess I am, I said. We all got out and paved the wind, and the wind grabbed us, throwing snow in our faces. Lumley was first, bending into the wind, his fancy subcoat billowing out behind him like a spiff. He cast two shadows, one from Tukey's head fights, the other from his own intelligence. I was behind him and Turkey and was a step behind me. When I got to the trunk of the Mercedes, Tukey grabbed me. Let him go, he said. Jane, wait, Ja, Jas, Jasny, Francis, wait, Francie, Lumley called. Everybody okay? He pulled open the driver's side door and leaned in. Everything, he froze to a dead stop. The wind ripped the heavy door right out of his hand and pushed it all the way open. Holy God, Booth, Duke said just below the scream of a wind. I think it's happening again. Lumley turned back towards us. His face was scared and bewildered, his eyes wide. All of a sudden he lunged toward us into the snow, slipping and almost falling. He brushed me away like I was nothing and grabbed Tukey. How did you know? He roared. Where are they? What the hell's going on here? Tukey broke his grip and shoved past him. He and I looked into the Mercedes together. Warm as toast. Warm as toast it was, but it wasn't going to be enough for much longer. The little ambitious low fuel light was glowing. The big car was empty. There was a child's Barbie doll on the passenger's floor mat, and a child's ski parka was crumpled over the seat back. Excuse me. Tukey put his hands over his face, and then his face was gone. Lumley had grabbed him and shoved him right back into the snowbank. His father was pale and wild. His mouth was sparkling if he had uh, chewed up on some bitter stuff he couldn't yet be unpacked enough to spit out. Her reaction in this in uh, uh, let's see. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he reached in and grabbed the parka. I should say, not parks. Wow, Forrest, get your things right. Francis' coat? He kind of whispered, and then loud bellowed, Francis's coat! He turned around, holding it in front of him by the little fur-trimmed hook. He looked back at me, blank and unbelieving. She can't be out. She can't be out without a coat on, Mr. Booth. Why, why, sure, you know, Mr. Lumley, you blundered past me, still holding the parka, shouting, Francie Janie, where are you now? Where are you? I gave Tukey in, um, yeah, okay. He blundered past me, still holding the parka, shouting, Francie, Jane, Janie, where are you? Where, where are you? When I laid my hand and pulled him onto this, yeah, uh, never mind me, he says. We've got a great deal for, Booth. We were after him as fast as we could, which wasn't my favorite with the snow hip hop queen in some places, but he stopped before and we caught up to him. Hmm, let's see. Uh, Mr. Lumley took, um, Tookie started, laying a hand on his shoulder. That way, Lumley said. Uh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just looking at something real quick. Sorry. Anyway, as he started to walk away, his head down, and Tookie grabbed him back. No! No, Lumley! Lumley turned his wild face into a Tookie's and made a flat. He drew the bunch of it, but, um, yeah, okay. Anyway, he looked from Tookie to see me. 30% items back again. Hmm. Right. Moving on. She'll freeze, he said, as if we were a couple of students. Do I get you yet? She doesn't have her jokes on, and she's only 7 years old. It could be anywhere, Tumke said. You can't follow those tracks. They go to a large, um, let's see. Alright, I'll read from that page because it wasn't too far off from that. Anyway, she'll freeze, he said as if we were a couple of stupid kids. Don't you get it? She doesn't have her jacket on and she's only 7 years old. It could be anywhere, Tukey said. You can't follow those tracks. They'll be gone in the next drift. What do you suggest? Lumley yells, his voice high and hysterical. If we go back to this place, she'll freeze to death. Francie and my wife! They may be frozen already, Tukey said. His eyes caught Lumley's. Frozen, or something worse. What do you mean? Lumley whispered. Get it straight, goddammit! Tell me! Mr. Lumley, Tukey says. There's something in the lot. But I was the one who came out of it with finally, and the words I never expected to say. Vampires, Mrs. Lumley? Jerusalem's lot is full of vampires. I expect that's hard for you to swallow. He was staring at me as if I'd gone home. Loonies, he whispered, are a couple, uh, you're a couple of loonies. Then he turned away, clapping his hands around his throat, and hollowing Francie Janey, starting, oh yeah, right. Oh, right. Let's see here. Fathom, Tukey says. His hair was plastered with snow and he did not break the little white line. Uh, alright. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to think about where I was at when I read. Anyway. Hmm. 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 Yeah, I'm not sure how to deal with this one. So, anyway. Let's see. What do we do? I looked at Todd. What do we do now? Follow him, Tukey says. His hair was plastered with snow and he did look a little bit lonely. I can't leave him here. Both. Join you. Hold on a second. Let's see what's going on out there real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, I have returned. I just looked to see what was going on out there, and just may have been my dogs just growling at something that they thought they seen or heard, and there was nothing there. So yeah. So now we're gonna go back into this book. So, so I'm gonna go ahead and read from the top of the page, so that way I know where I was at. All right. She'll freeze, he said, as if we were a couple of stupid kids. Don't you get it? She doesn't have her jacket on and she's only 7 years old. They could be anywhere, Tukey said. You can't follow those tracks. They'll be gone in the next drift. What do you suggest? Lumley yells, his voice high and hysterical. If we go back to get the police, she'll freeze to death. Francie and my wife. They may be frozen already, Tukey said. His eyes caught Lumley. Frozen or something worse? What do you mean? Lumley whispered. Get it straight, goddammit! Tell me! Mr. Lumley, Miss, Mr. Lumley, Tukey says. There's something in the lot, but I was the one who came out with it finally and said the word I'd never expected to say. Vampires, Mr. Lumley. Jerusalem's lot is full of vampires. I expect that's hard for you to swallow. He was staring at me as if I'd gone green. Loonies. And the way that I had something on my head made me want to look back, but then I realized there's not even enough space for anybody to try to hide back there behind my chair. Anyway, loonies, he whispers. You're a couple of loonies. Then he turned away, cupped his hands around his mouth, and bellowed, Francie! Jenny! He started floundering off again. The snow was up to the hem of his fancy coat. I looked at Tukey. What do we do now? Follow him, Tukey says. His hair was plastered with snow, and he did look a little bit moody. I can't just leave him out here, Booth. Can you? No, I says. Guess not. So we started to wade through the snow after Lumley as best as we could, but he kept getting further and further ahead. He had his youth to spend, you see. He was breaking the trail, going through that snow like a bull. My arthritis began to bother me something terrible, and I started to look down at my legs, telling myself, a little further, just a little further. Keep it going. Damn it, keep going. I piled right into Tukey, who was standing spread-legged in a drift. His head was hanging and both of his hands were pressed to his chest. Tukey, I says, you okay? I'm all right, he said, taking his hands away. We'll stick with him, Booth, and when he fags out, he'll see reason. We talked to Rise, and there was Lumley at the bottom, looking desperately for more tracks. Poor man, there wasn't a chance he was going to find them. The wind blew straight across down there where he was, and any tracks would have been rubbed out 3 minutes after they was made, let alone a couple of hours. He raised his head and screamed into the night, Francie! Janie! For God's sake! And you could hear the depression in his voice, the desperation in his voice, the terror and pity him for it. The only answer he got was the freight train wail of the wind. It almost seemed to be laughing at him, saying, I took them, Mr. New Jersey, with your fancy car and camel's hair topcoat. I took them and I rubbed out their tracks, and by morning I'd have them just as neat and as frozen as two strawberries in a deep freeze. Lovely! Tukey bawled over the wind. Listen! You never mind vampires or boogies or nothing like that. But you mind this? You're just making it worse for them. We gotta get the. And then there was an answer. A voice coming out of the dark like little tinkling silver bells, and my heart turned cold as ice in a cistern. Jerry, Jerry, is that you? Lumley wheeled at the sound, and then she came, drifting out of the dark shadows of a little copse of trees, like a ghost. She was a city woman, all right, and right then she seemed like the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. I felt like I wanted to go to her and tell her how glad I was she was safe after all. She was wearing a heavy green pullover sort of thing, a poncho, I believe they're called. It floated all around her, and her dark hair streamed out in the wild wind, like water in a December creek, just before the winter freeze stills it and locks it in. Maybe I did take a step toward her, because I felt took his hand on my shoulder, rough and warm, and still, how can I say it? I yearned after her, so dark and beautiful with that green poncho floating around her neck and shoulders, and as exotic and strange as to make you think of some beautiful woman from a Walter de la Mare poem. Janie! Lindley cried. Janie! He began to struggle through the snow toward her, his arms outstretched. No! Tookie cried. No, Lumley! He never even looked. But she did. She looked up at us and grinned. And when she did, I felt my longing, my yearning turn to horror, as cold as the grave, as white and silent as bones in a shroud. Even from the rise, we could see the sullen red glare in those eyes. They were less human than a wolf's eyes. And when she grinned, you could see how long her teeth had become. She wasn't human anymore. She was a dead thing somehow come back to life in this thick black howling storm. Tukey made the sign of the cross at her. She flinched back and then grinned at us again. We were too far away and maybe too scared. Stop it, I whispered. Can't we stop it? It's too late. Too late, Booth, Tukey says grimly. Lumley had reached her. He looked like a ghost himself, coated in snow like he was. He reached for her, and then he began to scream. I'll hear that sound in my dreams, that man screaming like a child in a nightmare. He tried to back away from her, but her arms, long and bare, and as white as the snow, snaked out and pulled him to her. I could see her cock her head and then thrust it forward. Booth! Tukey said hoarsely. Booth! We've got to get out of here. And so we ran. Ran like rats, I suppose some would say, but those who would weren't there that night. We fled back down along our own back trail, falling down, getting up again, slipping and sliding. I kept looking back over my shoulder to see if that woman was coming after us, grinning that grin and watching us with those red eyes. We got back to the scout and Tukey doubled over, holding his chest. Tukey! I said, badly scared. What ticker? He said. Been bad for 5 years or more. Get me around in the shotgun seat, Booth, and then get us the hell out of here. I hooked an arm under his coat and dragged him around and somehow boosted him up and in. He leaned his head back and shut his eyes. His skin was waxy, looking and yellow. I went back around the hood of the truck at a trot, and I damn near ran into a little girl. She was just standing there, beside the driver's side door, her hot hair in pigtails, wearing nothing but a little bit of a yellow dress. Mister, she said in a high, clear voice as sweet as morning mist, won't you help me find my mother? She's gone and I'm so cold. Honey, I said. Honey, you better get in the truck. Your mother's. I broke off, and if there was ever a time in my life I was close to swooning, that was the moment. She was standing there, you see, but she was standing on top of the snow, and there were no tracks, not in any direction. She looked up at me then. Lumley's daughter, Francie. She was no more than 7 years old, and she was going to be seven for an eternity of nights. Her little face was a ghastly corpse white, her eyes a red and silver that you could fall into, and below her jaw I could see two small punctures like pinpricks, their edges horribly mangled. She held out her arms at me and smiled. Pick me up, mister, she said softly. I want to give you a kiss. Then you can take me to my mommy. I didn't want to, but there was nothing I could do. I was leaning forward, my arms outstretched. I could see her mouth opening. I could see the little fangs inside the pink ring of her lips. Something slipped down her chin, bright and silvery, and with a dim, distant, faraway horror, I realized she was drooling. Her small hands clasped themselves around my neck, and I was thinking, well, maybe it won't be so bad. Not so bad. Maybe it won't be so awful after a while. When something black flew out of the scout and struck her on the chest. There was a puff of strange smelling smoke, a flashing glow that was gone an instant later, and then she was backing away, hissing. Her face was twisted into a vulpine mask of rage, hate, and pain. She turned sideways and then she was gone. One moment she was there, and the next there was a twisting knot of snow that looked a little bit like a human shape. Then the wind tattered it away across the fields. Booth, Tukey whispered. Be quick, now! And I was. But not so quick that I didn't have time to pick up what he had thrown at that little girl from hell. His mother's do, do-away Bible. That was some time ago. I'm a sight older now, and I was no chicken then. Herb Tooklander passed on 2 years ago. He went peaceful in the night. The bar is still there. Some man and his wife from Waterville bought it. Nice people, and they've kept it pretty much the same. But I don't go by much. It's different somehow with Tukey gone. Things in the lot go on pretty much as they always have. The sheriff found that fellow Lumley's car the next day, out of gas, the battery dead. Neither Tukey nor I said anything about it. What would have been the point? And every now and then a hitchhiker or a camper would disappear around there someplace, up on Schoolyard Hill or out near the Harmony Hill Cemetery. They'll turn up the fellow's pack-sack or a paperback book all swollen and bleached out by the rain or snow, or some such, but never the people. I still have bad dreams about that stormy night we went out there. Not about the woman so much as the little girl, and the way she smiled when she held her arms up so I could pick her up, so she could give me a kiss. But I'm an old man, and the time comes soon when dreams are done. You may have an occasion to be traveling in southern Maine yourself one of these days. Pretty part of the countryside. You may even stop by Tuki's bar for a drink. Nice place. It kept the name just the same. So have your drink, and then my advice to you is to keep right on moving north. Whatever you do, don't go up that road to Jerusalem's lot, especially not after dark. There's a little girl out there somewhere, and I think she's still waiting for her good night kiss. Hmm. See, the thing is, like, if you've read Salem's Lot, you probably knew what the plot twist was gonna be. I, for one, have seen too many vampire and zombie movies and TV shows, primarily The Walking Dead, to get affected by those type of plot twists where you see a character do something, like you see a character, and then the very next thing you know, the next time, like you see them, you when you see them last as a human being, you don't realize that's the last time you'll see them as a human being up until the next time you see them when they're either a zombie or a vampire. In the kind of way where it's supposed to be like, oh my god, that is very tragic. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong, the fact that this man was trying to find his wife and daughter and they both already turned out to be vampires is still a sad thing in itself. Especially when the man gets bitten by the wife and becomes a vampire himself at some point. You already know he's going to be a vampire. It's just a matter of how long that whole thing takes, you know. And it's always it's always that moment where you wonder, okay, how painful is this going to be, you know? And you know, sometimes they do paint vampires in a negative light, you know, with characters like Dracula or, you know, this kind of thing. But then there are those good characters that are vampires, and so they paint so you're not really too scared of them because you know they're good. They're the good guys, so to speak. Um, for whatever reason, the first thing that popped into my head when I say that is Twilight. But the problem is, it's been years since I last read those books, and so yeah, because I have read the Twilight books, not all of them, but I have read them, some of them. So yeah, yes, I am openly admitting that I have read Twilight, and no, I do not have no shame in admitting that. Because while I don't really care too much for the movies, the books could be pretty good in their own way if you give them a chance. I say could be because I know that there's going to be some people that are going to hate on the movie or on the books. I mean, even after that. But now we are on the hour mark, and I will be starting to read the final story of this book, "The Woman in the Room." The question is, can he do it? He doesn't know. He knows that she chews them sometimes, her face wrinkling at the awful orange taste, and a sound comes from her mouth like splintering popsicle sticks. But these are different pills, gelatin capsules. The box says Darvon Complex on the outside. He found them in her medicine cabinet and turned them over in his hands, thinking something the doctor gave her before she had to go back to the hospital. Something for the ticking knives. ticking nights. The medicine cabinet is full of remedies, neatly lined up like a voodoo doctor's cures. Gregory of the Western world. Fleet suppositories. Suppositories. He has never used a suppository in his life, and he thought of putting a waxy something in his rectum to soften the body heat makes him feel ill. There is no dignity in putting things up your ass. Phillips milk of magnesia, Ellison arthritis pain formula, Pepto Bismol, more. He can trace the course of her illness through the medicines. But these pills are different. They are like regular Darvin only in that they are gray gelatin capsules. But they are bigger, what his dead father used to call Hoscock pills. The box says ASP 350 Gur, Darvon 100 Gur, and could she chew them even if he was to give them to her? Would she? The house is still running. The refrigerator runs and shuts off. The furnace kicks in and out. Every now and then the cuckoo bird pokes grumpily out of the clock to announce an hour or a half. He supposes that after she dies it will fall to Kevin and him to break up housekeeping. She's gone all right. The house says so. She is in the Central Main Hospital in Lewiston, room 312. She went when the pain got so bad she could no longer go out to the kitchen and make her own coffee. At times when he visited, she cried without knowing it. The elevator creaks going up and he finds himself examining the blue elevator certificate. The certificate makes it clear that the elevator is safe, creaks or no creaks. She has been here for nearly 3 weeks now, and today they gave her an operation called a cor- cortotomy. He is not sure if that is how it's spelled, but that is how it sounds. The doctor has told her that the cortotomy involves sticking a needle into her neck and then into her brain. The doctor has told her that this is like sticking a pin into an orange and spearing a seed. When the needle is poked into her pain center, a radio signal will be sent down to the tip of the needle and the pain center will be blown out, like unplugging a TV. Then the cancer in her belly will stop being such a nuisance. The thought of this operation makes him even more uneasy than the thought of suppositories melting warm, melting warmly in his anus. It makes him think of a book by Michael Crichton called The Terminal Man, which deals with putting wires in people's heads. According to Crichton, this could be a very bad scene. You better believe it. The elevator door opens on the third floor and he steps out. This is the old wing of the hospital, and it smells like the sweet smelling sawdust they sprinkle over puke at a county fair. He has left the pills in the glove compartment of his car. He has not had anything to drink before this visit. The walls up here are two-tone, brown on the bottom and white on the top. White on top. He thinks that the only two-tone combination in the whole world that might be more depressing than brown and white would be pink and black. Hospital corridors like giant good and plenties. The thought makes him smile and feel nauseated at the same time. Two corridors meet in a T in front of the elevator, and there is a drinking fountain where he always stops to put things off a little. There are pieces of hospital equipment here and there, like strange playground toys. A litter with chrome sides and rubber wheels, the sort of thing they use to wheel you up to the OR when they are ready to give you your cortotomy. There is a large circular object whose function is unknown to him. It looks like the wheels you sometimes see in squirrel cages. There is a rolling IV tray with two bottles hung from it, like a Salvador Dali dream of tits. Down one of the two corridors is the nurse's station, and laughter fueled by coffee drifts out to him. He gets his drink and then saunters down toward her room. He is scared of what he may find and hopes she will be sleeping. If she is, he will not wake her up. Above the door of every room there is a small square of light. When a patient pushes his call button, this light goes on, glowing red. Up and down the hall, patients are walking slowly, wearing cheap hospital robes over their hospital underwear. The robes have blue and white pinstripes and round colors. The hospital underwear is called a Johnny. The Johnnies look all right on the women, but decidedly strange on the men because they are like knee-deep dresses or slips. The men always seem to wear brown imitation leather slippers on their feet. The women favor knitted slippers with balls of yarn on them. His mother has a pair of these and calls them mules. The patients remind him of a horror movie called, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know this movie, The Night of the Living Dead. They all walk slowly, as if someone had unscrewed the tops of their organs, like mayonnaise jars and liquids were sloshing around inside. Some of them use canes. Their slow gait as they promenade, promenade up and down the halls is frightening, but also dignified. It is the walk of people who are going nowhere slowly, the walk of college students in caps and gowns filling into a convocation hall. Ectoplasmic music drifts everywhere from transistor radios. Voices babble. You can hear Black Oak, Arkansas singing Jim Dandy. Go Jim Dandy, go! Go Jim Dandy, go Jim Dandy! A falsetto voice screams merrily at the slow hall walkers. You can hear a talk show host discussing Nixon in tones that have been dipped in acid like smoking quills. You can hear a polka with French lyrics. Lewiston is still a French-speaking town, and they love their gins and reels almost as much as they love to cut each other in the bars on Lower Lisbon Street. He pauses outside his mother's room and, for a while there he was, freaked enough to come drunk. It made him ashamed to be drunk in front of his mother, even though she was too doped and full of Ellaville to know. Ellaville is a tranquilizer they give to cancer patients, so it won't bother them so much that they're dying. The way he worked it was to buy 2 6-packs of Black Label beer at Somi's Market in the afternoon. He would sit with the kids and watch their afternoon programs on TV. There are 3 beers with Sesame Street, 2 beers during Mister Rogers, 1 beer during Electric Company, then one with supper. He took the other 5 beers in the car. It was a 22-mile drive from Raymond to Lewiston via routes 302 to 202, and it was possible to be pretty well in the bag by the time he got to the hospital with 1 or 2 beers left over. He would bring things for his mother and leave them in the car so there would be an excuse to go back and get them and also drink another half beer and keep the high going. It also gave him an excuse to piss outdoors, and somehow that was the best of the whole miserable business. He always parked in the side lot, which was rutted, frozen November dirt, and the cold night air assured full bladder concentration. Pissing in one of the hospital bathrooms was too much like an apotheosis of the whole hospital experience. The nurse's call button beside the hopper, that chrome handle bolted at a 45-degree angle, the bottle of pink disinfectant over the sink. Bad news, you better believe it. The urge to drink going home was nil, so leftover beers collected in the icebox at home, and when there were 6 of them, he would. never come if he had known it was going to be this bad. The first thought that crosses his mind is, she's no orange, and the second thought is, she's really dying. She's really dying quick now, as if she had a train to catch out there in nullity. She is straining in the bed, not moving except for her eyes, but straining inside her body. Something is moving in there. Her neck has been smeared orange with stuff that looks like mercurochrome, and there is a bandage below her left ear where some humming doctor puts the radio needle in and blew out 60% of her motor controls along with the pain center. Her eyes follow him like the eyes of a paint by the numbers Jesus. Let's see here. I don't think you better see me tonight, Johnny. I'm not so good. Maybe I'll be better tomorrow. What is it? It itches. I itch all over. Are my legs together? You can't see if her legs are together. They are just a raised V under the ribbed hospital sheet. It's very hot in the room. No one is in the other bed right now. He thinks, roommates come and roommates go, but my mom stays on forever. Christ! They're together, Mom. Move them down, can you, Johnny? Then you better go. I've never been in the fix like this before. I can't move anything. My nose itches. Isn't that a pitiful way to be, with your nose itching and not able to scratch it? He scratches her nose and then takes a hold of her calves through the sheet and pulls them down. He can put one hand around both calves with no trouble at all, although his hands are not particularly large. She groans. Tears are running down her cheeks to her ears. Mama, can you move my legs down? Wait, Mom, yeah, I just did. Oh, that's all right then. I think I'm crying. I don't mean to cry in front of you. I wish I was out of this. I'd like to do anything to be out of this. Would you like would you like to would you like a smoke? Could you please get me a drink of water first, Johnny? I'm as dry as an old ship. Sure. He takes a glass with a flexible straw in it out and around the corner to the drinking fountain. A fat man with an elastic bandage on one leg is standing up slowly down the corridor. He isn't wearing any of one of the pinstriping robes, and this is holding his Johnny closed behind him. He fills the glass from the fountain and goes back to room 312 with it. She has stopped crying. Her lips grip the straw in a way that reminds him of canals being camels has seen in travel goers. Her face is scrawny. His most vivid memory of her is the life he lived as her son is of a time when he was 12. Deanna's brother Kevin and this woman had moved to Maine so that she could take care of her parents. Her mother was old and bedridden. High blood pressure had made his grandmother senile, and to add insult to injury, had struck her behind. Happy 86th birthday. Here's one to grow up on. And and she lay in a large diapers and rubber pants, unable to remember what breakfast had been, but able to recite all the president's rights up to Ike. And so the three generations of them are lived together in a state um, that where he had so recently found the pills, although both grandparents are now and long since arrested. And at 12, he had been flipping off about something at the breakfast table too. He doesn't remember what, but something happened, and yeah. Um, Hold on a second. He doesn't remember what, but something, and his mother has been washing out her mouth's pissy diapers and then running them through the writings of her um yeah, there's not much going to tell me. Yeah, but anyway, let's see. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Let's see. And she had turned around. Okay, I found my place. Okay. And she had turned around and laid into him with one of them, and the first step of the wet, heavy diaper man had upset his bowl of Special K and sent it spiting wildly across the table like a jar, like a large blue tri- tridlewink, and the second law had dropped his back, so not busting something could have made, or could have the star talk out on his month, and the woman loves lying shrunken in the head, leading in the room that had whipped him and your son. Your let's see. I Hmm. Man, I'm feeling really tired right now. But I'm still trying to stay awake. Hmm. Alright, so I think I'll just start here where I think I'm gonna go ahead and start there. Alright, there you go. Actually, I'll go ahead and read the last sentence that I read in the previous page that I was on. And so the three generations of them had lived together in that house where he had so recently found the pills, although both grandparents are now long since dead. And at 12, he had been lipping off something at the breakfast table. He didn't remember what, but something and his mother had been watching out of their mother's pissy diapers and then renaming them through the wringer of her ancient washing machine. And she had turned around and laid into him with one of those, and I failed to grasp the what um, Ivory's diaper had upscaled his bowl of Special K and sent it spinning wildly across the table like a good yeah, like like a target blue with uh tit diddlywink, and the second blow a stropping his back, not hurting not hurting but strapping. You know the smart thing about Democrat. You know the smart thing out of his dem mouth. And this woman now applies shrunken U.S. history in hmm, right. Hmm, hmm, right. Damn, I'm doing that again. Good lord. Yeah. Right. see. You know, you keep your big mouth shut. There's nothing big about you. Wait, hold on a second. Hmm. All right. Hmm. What to do here? You keep your big mouth shut. There's nothing big about you right now but your mouth, and so you keep it shut until the rest of you grows the same size. And each italicized, italicized word was accompanied by a drop of his grandmother's wet diaper. Wacko! And any other smart things he might have had to say just evaporated. There was not a chance in the world for small talk. He had discovered that day and for all time that there is nothing up to the whale so perfect to say a 12-year-old girl's impression of his place in this game of things in a proper perspective as being beaten. Yeah, um, yeah. Anyway, mm, mm, all right. Um, Feeling a little bit tired right now, but we're not too far from it. Hmm. She chokes on the water a little, and it frightens him, even though he has been given all about and been thinking about giving her pills. He asks her again if she wants a cigarette, and she says, "If it's not any trouble, then you better go. Maybe I'll let me better tomorrow." He shakes the cool out of one of the packages scattered on the table by her bed and lights. Her He holds it between the fists and the seasoned fingernails of his right hand, and she ignores it. The tight lips approaching from this situation. Let's see, in 20, Ray Conley versus I think that's how it went. But anyway, he holds it between the first and second fingers of his right hand, and she puffs it. Her lips smart stretching to grasp the filter. He inhaled weeks, the week that smoke strips from her lips. Hmm. I have to live until I'm 60 years old so my son can live with me and can hold my cigarettes for me. I don't mind. No, man, the psychos are just a little vaguely. Aaron? Aaron? Bananas. He scoffs at yep, uh, s- uh, right. Yeah, let me read that whole bit again because I wasn't really prepared for it. Anyway, I had to live 60 years ago so my son could hold up my cigarettes for me. I understand. Right. But you don't. Wait, how long have you been here? That long? I think I better go. My human is talking with me. Anyway, let's see here. Alright. They. Wait, hold on a second. Hmm. See. Hmm. That moment when you're so tired that you can't really think properly, you know? Um. Hmm. I'm starting to feel tired. I don't know if I'll be able to finish the story, so what I'll do is, shoot. If I didn't start the story, I would be able to do a video, thing that ends with it. Let me see. Hmm. Alright. Let's see here. Hmm. Hmm. Ah, shoot. Hmm. I'll start at the beginning of the page after I take a drink real quick. I had to live 50, 60 years ago so that my son could hold my cigarettes for me. I don't mind. She pulls again and holds the filter against her lips so long that he glances away from it to her eyes and sees they are closed. Mom? The eyes open a little, vaguely. Johnny? Right? How long have you been here? Not long, I think I better go. Let's just sleep. Hmm. Hmm. He snubs the cigarette in her ashtray and slinks from the room, thinking I want to ask to that other doctor. God damn it. I want to talk to the doctor about who did that. Getting into the elevator, maybe he may think that the word doctor becomes a synonym for man after after a certain degree of philosophy in the traditional style that has been reached. And if it was a 10 as expected, yeah, it's definitely not doing that. But anyway, his sister smells the cigarettes in her ashtray and slinks up from the room, thinking, "I want to wrestle duck to that doctor." So, guys, damn it, I want to talk to the director of Who Framed Gearing into the work he thinks that we were are about. Yeah, sounds about right. Anyway, uh, getting into the getting into the elevator, he thinks the woman doctor became a synonym for man after a certain degree of proficiency in the trade has been reached. It's uh, mm, mm, yeah, shoot. If only I hadn't started this. This could have been what I'm doing here, where I feel like I'm dozing off at some points, is coming to fruition here. Hmm, let's see here. Anyway, hmm, I don't think she can really go on much longer, he tells his brother later that night. His brother lives in Andover, 70 miles west. He only gets to the hospital once or twice a week. But her pain is bet but her but is her pain better? Kev asks. She says she itches. He has the pills in his sewer pocket. His wife is safely asleep. Hope he takes them out stolen loot from his. Oh. Hmm. See, the problem is when you feel so tired that you just want to stop and you can't because you're in the middle of reading the book. You said you were going to try to finish it. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt trying to deal with that. Anyway, wait, what time is it? Alright. Okay. Alright, go back into it now. She says she itches. He has the pills in his sweater pocket. His wife is soundly asleep. Here he takes them out, stolen still the house wherever they live, coast with the some random person's things, but we're focusing on certain things here. Legs under the white rabbit shit. Chest, not sheet. What? Jeez, my man, that tiredness is really messing with me right now. But anyway, Bert's not dead yet. This is in fact that what horrifies him. The conversation will go around in circles from here to politics, cruising this country to the telephoner company. Half of that is in the rush. Not yet. So you could just do what he's got to do to get that. And we'll be able to help you. Mm. Hmm. Let's see. See, I'm trying to. Yeah, hold on a second. Let's see, there we go. Alright, let's stop at the very last second of the first paragraph on page 495. Excuse me. He turns the box over and oven in his hand as he talks like a rabbit's foot. Well, she's better. For Kevin, everything is better off is better play a giveaway better as if their life depended on the situation. Um, some people putting in the comments of this video saying, um, so it matters at this point, Bubba. He bursts out thinking of beer, legs under the white rabbit sheet. Johnny says she's dying. What are we gonna do? What am I gonna drive? She's not dead yet? She's not dead yet. The commercials will go new. The, the conversation will. Wait, hold on. She's not dead yet. This, in fact, is what horrifies him. The conversation will go around in circles from here. The profile is appearing to the telephone company, but this is the nub. Not dead yet, just lying in that room with the hospital tag on her wrist, listening to phantom radios up and down the hill, and hey, at least I finally managed to read enough of it so I can finally take a drink, where I usually would stop it at this point. Is this the heavy the laundromat machine story. Um, this is the story known as The Woman in the Room. This is my very first time reading it, literally. So this is like a blind reading, so I won't know what happens until the story is over. But yeah. Also, JT, how you doing tonight? Also, hello, JT. I should say, how you doing tonight? She's gonna have to come to grips with time, the doctor says. He is a big man with a red, sandy beard. He stands maybe 6'4", and his shoulders are heroic. The doctor led him tactfully out into the hall when she began to nod off. Hey, that's what I sometimes do when I'm doing reading streams. That's what I accidentally do when I'm doing reading streams. Oh, excuse me. The doctor continues. You see, some motor impairment is almost unavoidable in an operation like the cor- cortot- cortotomy. Corton- Cortotomy. Your mother has movement in the left hand now. She may reasonably expect to recover her right hand in 2 to 4 weeks. Will she walk? No, it's not the story I'm thinking of. Oh, wait. Hold on. I might have I think I might know what the story is, but I have to look it up. Let's see here. It's because you see you have. See, it's not this one because that's Jerusalem's Lot. Very long freaking short story, I'll tell you that much. He easily could have published this on its own. There's a bit of a thing there. Let me see here. I don't think it was this one. Hmm. Trying to see through these stories real quick. One that almost seems similar is this one titled, what was it again? The Mangler. There's that one, but I think that's a bit of a different thing there. Let's see here. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, that's what you were thinking of? Because looking at this, you also had hmm. Yeah, because then you also had Gray Matter, I guess. I don't know. There's that. Oh yeah, there was also this one. Trucks. Basically, yeah, Trucks was basically like a big rig version of Christine. If I'm being honest with that one. Then you had Sometimes They Come Back, but I think that's gonna be something different. Yeah, that one probably isn't. Probably not that one. Definitely probably not that one. Oh yes, then you had the Lawnmower Man. Probably one of the more disturbing stories in this book. If I had to be honest with it. Then you had Quitters Incorporated. Interesting story, that one. Then you have I Know What You Need. Hmm, I don't think that one was it. Then you got Children of the Corn, which I know isn't it. But it's another one of those stories that have a very interesting story to it, if I'm being honest. Then you had The Last Rung on the Ladder. It's actually a really yeah, that one is a really sad story, that one. Then you had The Man Who Loved Flowers. Yeah. Anyway. Oh yeah, this story. Oh yeah, that story. The Man Who Loved Flowers. That was probably one of the greatest plot twists I've ever read in this book. See, One for the Road, which we've already read. Yeah, I think that one was supposed like Jerusalem's Lot was like a prequel to Salem's Lot, and then you have this one, uh, the one that I read, the first of the two stories that I've read tonight. That one was like the sequel to it. Yeah. Yeah, the Mangler. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of the Maximum Override. Didn't they make? Didn't he publish a Maximum Override book to kind of coincide with that movie? I think I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure he did. But yeah. Anyway. All right. So we'll go over to where we were last at here. Will she walk? Yeah, he wrote and directed the movie. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard like mixed to negative things about that movie. So I don't know if I'll ever watch it, if I'm being honest. But we'll see. I know that he's been in a few movies, specifically the most well-known movie that was well-known because of its fourth and fifth stories being Creepshow. But he was in that movie as one of the characters in that one. Honestly, the story that he plays as the main character in that movie, honestly, I felt so sorry. For I felt so bad for his character, but at the same time, I'm like, well, next time if you see something and you don't know what the fuck it is, don't mess with the damn thing. You know? I think that's the moral of this of that story. That like I feel so sorry for him, but the moral of the story is at the same time is like, don't mess with things you don't understand. If you don't know what it is, don't touch it. If you feel like it's something that needs to be, if you feel concerned about it, let someone know, even if some people would find you crazy for it. All right, but getting back to the story, will she walk? The doctor looks at the drilled cork ceiling of the corridor judiciously. His beard crawls all the way down to the color of his plaid shirt. I'm starting to feel like that. I'm looking at you guys like this looks like that sounds like something like me right there because of how long my beard currently is. But I'll probably shave that at some point anyway. And for some ridiculous reason, Johnny thinks of Algernon Swinburne. Why he could not say. This man is the opposite of poor Swinburne in every way. Swinburne in every way. Either way, whatever. I should say not. She's lost too much ground. She's going to be bedridden for the rest of her life? I think that's a fair assumption, yes. He begins to feel some admiration for this man who he hoped would be safely hateful. Disgust follows the feeling. Must be a cord administration for the simple truth? How long can she live like that? It's hard to say. That's more like it. The tumor is blocking one of her kidneys now. The other one is operating fine. When the tumor blocks it, she'll go to sleep. A uremic coma? Yes, the doctor says, but a little more cautiously. Uremia is a techno-pathological term, usually the property of doctors and medical examiners alone. But Johnny knows it because his grandmother died of the same thing, although there was no cancer involved. Her kidneys simply packed it in and she died, floating in internal piss up to her rib cage. She died in bed at home at dinner time. Johnny was the one who was first suspected she was truly dead this time, and not just sleeping in the comatose, open mouthed way that old people have. Two small tears had squeezed out of her eyes. Her old toothless mouth was drawn in, reminding him of a tomato that had been hollowed out, perhaps to hold egg salad, and then left forgotten on the kitchen shelf for a stretch of days. He held a round cosmetic mirror to her mouth for a minute, and when the glass did not fog and hide the image of her tomato's mouth, he called for his mother. All of that had seemed not as right as they did wrong. She says she still has pain, and that she itches. The doctor taps his beard solemnly, like Victor de Groot is the old psychiatrist cartoons. She imagines the pain, but it is nonetheless real, real to her. That is why time is so important. Your mother can no longer count time in terms of seconds and minutes and hours. She must restructure those units into days and weeks and months. He realizes what this burly man with the beard is saying, and it boggles him. A bell dings softly. He cannot talk more to this man. He is a technical man. He talks smoothly of time, as though he has gripped the concept as easily as a fishing rod. Perhaps he has. The movie is very outdated. To be fair, there are many movies that were released for even 10 years ago that's a little bit outdated. Not too much compared to like movies from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but in their own way, they're kind of dated. Depends on what movie we're talking about here. Especially those ones where they paint somebody in a positive light, but it turns out some years later they're a piece of shit. And then it's like, oh, that just aged very well, you know? Yeah, that can happen. But anyway, Could you do anything more for her? Very little. But his manner is serene, as if this were right. He is, after all, not offering false hope. Can it be worse than a coma? Of course it can. We can't chart these things with any real degree of accuracy. It's like having a shark loose in your belly, in your body. She may bloat. Bloat? Her abdomen may swell and then go down, and then swell again. But why dwell on such things now? I believe we can safely say that they would do the job, but suppose they don't. But suppose they catch me. I don't want to go to court on a mercy killing charge. Not even if I can beat it. I have no causes to grind. He thinks of newspaper headlines screaming matricide and grimaces. Sitting in the parking lot, he turns the box over and over in his hands. Darvon complex. The question still is, can he do it? Should he? She has said, I wish I were out of this. I'd do anything to be out of this. Kevin is talking of fixing her a room at his house so she won't die in the hospital. The hospital wants her out. They gave her some new pills and she went on a raving bummer. That was 4 days after the cortotomy. They'd like her someplace else because no one has perfected a really foolproof cancerectomy yet. And at this point, if they got it all out of her, she'd be left with nothing but her legs and her head. He has been thinking of how time must be for her, like something that has gotten out of control, like a sewing basket full of threaded spools spilled all over the floor for a big mean tomcat to play with. The days the days in room 312. The night in room 312, they have run a string from the call button and tied it to her left index finger because she can no longer move her hand far enough to press the button if she thinks she needs the bedpan. Hey, Story Comical, how you doing tonight? My gosh, it's a little bit dirty, so a little tricky sometimes to read names. It doesn't matter too much anyway, because she can't feel the pressure down there. Her midsection might as well be a sawdust pile. She moves her bowels in the bed and pees in the bed and only knows when she smells it. She is down to 95 pounds from 150, and her body's muscles are so unstrung that it's only a loose bag tied to her brain like a child's sack puppet. Would it be any different at Kev's? Can he do murder? He knows it is murder. The worst kind. Matricide. As if he were a sentient fetus in an early Ray Bradbury horror story, determined to turn the tables and about the animal that has given it life. Perhaps it is his fault anyway. He is the only child to have been nurtured inside her, a charge, a change of life baby. His brother was adopted when another smiling doctor told her that she would never have any children of her own. And of course, the cancer now in her began in the womb like a second child, his own darker twin. His life and her death began in the same place. Should he not do what the other is doing already, so slowly and clumsily? He has been giving her aspirin on the sly for the pain she imagines she has. She has them in a secrets box in her hospital table drawer, along with her get well cards and her reading glasses that no longer work. They have taken away her dentures because they are afraid she might pull them down her throat and choke on them. So now she simply sucks the aspirin until her tongue is slightly white. Surely he could give her the pills. 3 or 4 would be enough. 1,400 grains of aspirin and 400 grains of Darvon administered to a woman whose body weight has dropped 33% over 5 months. No one knows he has the pills. Not Kevin, not his wife. He thinks that maybe they put someone else in room 312's other bed and he won't have to worry about it. He can cop out safely. He wonders if that wouldn't be best, really. If there is another woman in the room, his options will be gone, and he can regard the fact as a nod from Providence. He thinks astrochemical. Ah, yeah, okay. Oh, chemical. Wait, I say chemical, and he says comical. God damn it, Forrest, get your shit right. But either way, how you doing tonight? You're looking better tonight. Am I? Sure. How do you feel? Oh, not so good. Not so good tonight. Let's see you move your right hand. She raises it off the counterpane. It floats, splay fingered in front of her eyes for a moment, then drops. Thump. He smiles, and she smiles back. He asks her, "Did you see the doctor today?" "Yes, he came in. He's good to come every day. Will you give me a little water, John?" He gives her some water from the flexible straw. "You're good to come as often as you do, John. You're a good son." She's crying again. The other bed is empty, accordingly, accusingly so. Every now and then one of the blue and white pinstriped bathrobes sails by them up the hall. The door stands open halfway. He takes the water gently away from her, thinking idiotically, is this glass half empty or half full? How's your left hand? Oh, pretty good. Let's see. She raises it. It has always been her smart hand, and perhaps that is why it has recovered as well as it has from the devastating effects of the cortotomy. She clenches it, flexes it, snaps the fingers weakly. Then it falls back to the counterpane. Thump. Then she complains. But there's no feeling in it. Let me see something. He goes to her wardrobe, opens it, and reaches behind the coat she came to the hospital in to get at her purse. She keeps it in here because she is paranoid about robbers. She has heard that some of the orderlies are rip-off artists who will lift anything they can get their hands on. She has heard from one of her roommates who has since gone home that a woman in the new wing lost $500 which she kept in her shoe. His mother is paranoid. I'm sorry, but the fact that she put $500 in her shoe, I cannot help but think of the fact that there's that one scene in what was the movie? The Polar Express. The one scene where the boy is about to put the that one girl's golden ticket in his pocket, and the character that he interacts with on the top of the train doesn't. No, 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 no. If you want to find a good place to put it, the best place to put it is right. Take his shoes off. Right here, right here. Shoes always a good place to put things. Basically telling the boy, shoes the best place to put his things that he. It's like the most secret place that nobody most likely would dare to look in. What's he gonna say about this one? I wonder. What's he got to say about this? Anyway, his mother is paranoid about a great many things lately and has once told him sometimes, or has once told him a man sometimes hides under her bed in the late at night. Goddamn if I don't think of that old uh, urban legend of humans can lick too with that. Jesus. Jeezy cow. Part of it is the combination of drugs they are trying on her. They make the bennies he occasionally dropped in college look like Excedrin. You can you can have your pick from the locked drug cabinet at the end of the corridor, just past the nurse's station. Ups and downs, highs and bummers. Death, maybe, merciful death like a sweet black blanket. The wonders of modern science. He takes the purse back to her bed and opens it. Do I read science fiction? Okay, hold on a second. I noticed I missed a number of posts there. Good brother watching from Australia. Nice. And do I read science fiction? Yes. As a matter of fact, I got some books over here. These books right behind me, and these books up there. A number of them anyway, where they are science fiction books. Some of them are because they are Star Trek and Star Wars related to some degree. But outside of that, there is one book where it it's like a short story collection of science fiction works, whether they're actual short stories or like excerpts from novels or books outside with that. Um, excuse me. But yeah, I do enjoy Isaac Asimov. Oh, not Isaac Asimov, but I just realized. I also remembered. I also have the first three books from the Dune series. I just remembered that. But I don't think I have any Isaac Asimov, but I do know of his work. So, but if there's any work of his that you would recommend to somebody who's not really read his books, I'd like to hear it, and then I'll read one of his books, that book. Just one for now, just to get a feel for his books. Yeah. I Robot. Oh, is that the book that had that movie? Is that the one with the movie adaptation that had Will Smith in it? I ask this because I have the movie I Robot, which I've not seen. I have it, but I haven't seen it. Yeah, I thought so. I very much thought so. I do remember seeing the advertisements, and I was like, "Oh, dude, it's like those robots are going to be like." I mean, it's one of those classic tales of science fiction where you have these android or robots that are like androids, pretty much, where they act like how they're supposed to, but then something causes them to give them a mind of their own in some way, or to make them rebel against the humans. Yeah, something like iRobot or uh uh there was an episode of Star there have been a few episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation because it has an android on there where he does kind of act by himself. Look up Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Okay, alright, alright, alright. Getting back to the story though, because we're almost done, we're actually one page flip to the end there. He takes the purse back to her bed and opens it. Can you take can you take something out of here? Oh, Johnny, I don't know. He says persuasively. Try it. For me. The left hand rises from the counterpane like a crippled helicopter. It cruises, dives, comes out of the purse with a single wrinkled Kleenex. He applauds. Good, good! But she turns her face away. Last year I was able to pull 2 full dish trucks with these hands. If there's to be a time, it's now. It's very hot in the room, but the sweat on his forehead is cold, he thinks. If she doesn't ask for aspirin, I won't. Not tonight. And he knows if it isn't tonight, it's never. Okay. Her eyes flick to a half-open door slyly. Can you sneak me a couple of my pills, Johnny? It is how she always asks. She's not supposed to have any pills outside of her regular medication because she has lost so much body weight and she has built up what his druggy friends of his college days would have called a heavy thing. The body's immunity stretches to within a fingernail's breadth of lethal dosage. One more pill and you're over the edge. They say it is what happened to Marilyn Monroe. I brought some pills from home. Did you? They're good for pain. He holds the box out to her. She can only read very close. She frowns over the large print and then says, I had some of that Darvin stuff before. It didn't help me. This is stronger. Her eyes rise from the box to his own. Idly, she says, Is it? He can only smile foolishly. He cannot speak. It's like the first time he got laid. It happened in the back of some friend's car, and when he came home, his mother asked him if he had a good time, and he could only smile the same foolish smile. Could I chew them? I don't know. You could try one. All right, don't let them see. He opens the box and pries the plastic lid off the bottle. He pulls the cotton out of the neck. Did you do all that with the crippled helicopter in your left hand? Would they believe it? He doesn't know. Maybe they don't either. Maybe they wouldn't even care. He shakes 6 of the pills into his hand. He watches her watching him. It is many too many. Even she must know that. If she says anything about it, he will put them all back and offer her a single arthritis pain formula. A nurse glides by outside and his hand twitches, clicking the great capsules together. But the nurse doesn't look in to see how the Cortonomy kid is doing. His mother doesn't say anything, only looks at the pills like they were perfectly ordinary pills, if there is such a thing. Probably not. But on the other hand, she has never liked ceremony. She would not crack a bottle of champagne on her own boat. Here you go, he says in a perfectly natural voice, and pops the first one into her mouth. She gums it reflectively until the gelatin dissolves, and then she winces. Tastes bad? I won't. No, not too bad. He gives her another, and another. She chews them with that same reflective look. He gives her a fourth. She smiles at him, and he sees the horror that he sees with horror that her tongue is yellow. Maybe if he hits her in the belly, she will bring them up. But he can't. He could never hit his mother. Will you see if my legs are together? Just take these first. He gives her a fifth and a sixth. Then he sees if her legs are together. They are. She says, I think I'll sleep a little now. All right, I'm going to get a drink. You've always been a good son, Johnny. He puts the bottle in the box and tucks the box into her purse, leaving the plastic top on the sheet beside her. He leaves the open purse beside her and thinks, she asked for her purse. I brought it to her and opened it just before I left. She said she could get what she wanted out of it. She said she'd get the nurse to put it back in the wardrobe. He goes out and gets his drink. There is a mirror over the fountain. He runs out his tongue and looks at it. When he goes back into the room, she is sleeping with her hands pressed together. The veins in them are big, rambling. He gives her a kiss, and her eyes roll behind their lids, but do not open. Yes. He feels no different, either good or bad. He starts out of the room and thinks of something else. He goes back to her side, takes the bottle out of the box, and rubs it all over his shirt. Then he presses the limp fingertips of her sleeping left hand on the bottle. Then he puts it back and goes out of the room quickly without looking back. He goes home and waits for the phone to ring and wishes he had given her another kiss. While he waits, he watches TV and drinks a lot of water. What do you think happened? I think I think that's a no brainer question, but still, on the way I'm reading it, he basically, uh, he basically overdosed her, it seems like. And so what he's doing to cover his tracks with what he did, he puts her hand on the bottle to kind of make it to where he can't really be traced to it. Yeah, he's gonna have his fingerprints still on the bottle, but they could think of it like, well, she had the bottle herself. It could be that they could be thinking, well, it could be that he had the bottle, and so to take it out, but then she had the bottle last because her fingerprints are over his. So basically, like I said, it's covering his tracks with what he did. But yeah, that was the short story collection of Night Shift. I will have to say my personal favorite story that um my personal favorite story um out of this whole thing was ironically like I said earlier, because I really loved the plot twist and I honestly did not really see it coming. Which kind of tells you how Stephen King can be with his work, where you think this is going to be kind of like a normal kind of horror movie or something like that, or in this case, the way that short story, The Man That Loved Flowers, how it played out, the first thing that popped in my head was Audition, but like if the gender roles were reversed, whereas instead of the woman being the crazy psychotic motherfucker, it was the man. But Stephen King does it in a way where when the story starts out, you think, okay, so there's this guy and he's looking to do something nice for his wife or his girlfriend or whatever. And then when uh, he goes to that woman and calls her by by a woman's name, and she's like terrified and backs up because that's not her, because on the story it says that's not her real name. And then he says, "Oh yeah, that is your name." And then he brings out a weapon and basically kills her. I did not see that coming. That romance side bit was so natural. I did not see that coming. It's like one of the shortest stories in this book, but it's my personal favorite. Which basically tells you, even the shortest of stories could have some of the best of, could be one of the best works of an author. What was that? I just barely heard something out there. Hmm. All right. Well, but yeah, if I had to say, I could easily tell you guys though, no question, this is a rated R book. Easy. Just like a good amount of every Stephen King book. But yeah, let's see. always make sure to send out message for when your next reading is. Yeah, I probably will, because right now, I will save the next time I do a reading stream, it will probably be The Hobbit, to do the 3 chapters on that one. And then, uh, because I finished this book, I will be reading Death Behind Every Door, because it was one of the big, it was the winner of my last poll that I did, which means, while I won't be doing a poll right now, which means that these next 4 books would be chosen, which would be Star Trek The Next Generation, Q Continuum Book 1, Q Space, Star Trek Voyager Book 15, Echoes, Sandcastles, and 4 Exciting Mysteries, and it's these 4 books right there. So yeah, that would be the next, those would be the next picks, but like I said, we're not going to do that right away. We're going to wait until I either finish The Hobbit or I finish Death Behind Every Door, but knowing how it's going to be, The Hobbit might be the next one to be finished, but we'll see what happens when we get to it. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my reading of Night Shift, which means I can finally put them on my book reading playlist because I have every book reading that I've completed on that playlist. So that way, if you guys have any other books that you think you might be interested in, there you go. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, send us a notification in advance reminder, please. I will do a community post about when I might do my next one. Because I do have games and such I also want to play alongside that. Um, and also I want to do a reaction video to the Nintendo Direct, for the Switch 2, as well as when do we go to that date? WrestleMania 41 Nights 1 and 2, if I can do so. Either way, right now I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Forrest Walpole signing off.